Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Kavanaugh's Corner. Now today in the show I'm going to be talking about a movie that I just picked up recently. It was on a sale from the distributor of this film, and I think it's actually kind of an interesting film because it's a movie that I don't hear a lot of people talk about, but it's a movie that I found when I was younger, and I stumbled upon it in the sale, and I'd never ever seen this movie on Blu-ray before. I owned the DVD of this film from many years ago, and I had this movie for years, and it was always kind of one of these like cult classic movies that, you know, when you talk to somebody and they knew about it, it was like, oh wow, like you've actually seen this movie, because it wasn't a big hit. It's actually kind of a lesser known film, and again, it's one of these action movies that I really like. It's not really, again, a classic by any means. It's more of a cult classic, kind of a hidden gem. And that movie is Joshua Tree, starring Dolph Lundgren. This also stars George Segal. And you know, he actually plays a really interesting part in this movie as well. If you've seen this, you know what I'm talking about. But it's an action film. It's kind of a fugitive from the law type movie. He was wrongly accused of a crime, and he goes gunning after the people that put him behind bars, and kind of just, you know, wrongs all the people that wronged him, which is kind of nice. Has these crazy stunts. I mean, this movie really has some crazy stunts in it. And I think it's mainly because this movie's directed by Vic Armstrong, who is a veteran stuntman, stunt coordinator. And him and his brother worked on this movie. Again, Andy, his brother, was one of the producers, and Vic was the director of this. And you can really tell that a lot of love and care went into the action of this film. The stunt driving is just insane. The stunts that are done with shootouts, with pyrotechnics, explosions, I mean, you name it. Fight scenes, they really go above and beyond in this movie. The story, however, is kind of lackluster, but again, you're not really watching this, you know, for an Oscar-winning screenplay. You're watching it to see people get blown up and shot, and it's really crazy. This movie also has one of my favorite shootouts in all of film history, and Vic Armstrong has openly admitted in the past that it is a straight John Woo robbery. I mean, he really steals some of those like hard-boiled, The Killer type shootouts and put it right in this movie. Now, the one thing I wanted to talk about with this Blu-ray is this is from Shout Factory. That's the distributor I was talking about earlier that put the film out on Blu-ray. And as far as I know, it's the first and only time this has ever been put out on Blu-ray. But there is something I wanted to talk about with this, because some of you may know this movie as Joshua Tree if you live overseas. I'm in America. But if you live overseas, you probably know it as Joshua Tree. I knew it as this. I knew it as Army of One. Now, this is my old DVD of this. And this DVD is what I owned of this film for a long time. It's a standard 4:3 transfer. It almost looks like they just took a VHS and transferred onto a DVD. That's really what this is. And Artisan Entertainment really loved doing that back when DVDs first became a thing. There is nothing special about this. I think the only thing that's really special about this is that it comes with a trailer. That's really it. Scene selection, that's pretty much all there is on this. And again, you know, it's a 4:3 aspect ratio. However, something that is kind of interesting about this is that these two are not fundamentally the same movie. This is a different version of what we got here. And it kind of made me question whether or not I should get rid of this DVD. And the real reason is because this is the theatrical version that came out pretty much everywhere around the world except for America, where we got this version. And yes, this is the retitlement of it. It's not originally called Army of One, it was called Joshua Tree. So this version here is the first time I had ever seen this version of the movie. And there are differences, and if you let me explain, I'll tell you what they are. So basically, this version here is, I want to say, a little bit shorter. The ending is completely different. The ending is very different than what I had seen in the past. There's a whole fight scene that's missing. The nice thing is that the ending from this version is actually on this Blu-ray as a special feature, which I think is actually really nice. There's a full running commentary on here by the director and his brother Andy Armstrong, Vic and Andy. They do a full-length commentary on this. There's a whole documentary, little making-of documentary. It's probably, I think it's around 20-30 minutes long, where they interview everybody basically involved. Vic Armstrong, Andy Armstrong, Dolph Lundgren is interviewed, which I think is really cool. I'll talk about Dolph in a minute here. And there's the original theatrical trailer, which is one of those trailers that ruins the entire movie, and actually has some stuff that was not included in the final version as well. But this is pretty much a different version. And I'm going to be honest with you, I kind of like this version better. Even though the ending fight is not there, it's a very different ending. I kind of like it because it's a somewhat more believable ending, and it does provide kind of a better resolution for the characters. And I kind of like that. Whereas this is just like, you know, it ends, there's a fight, it's over, and that's it. I really like this version. I really like this version. And the other thing that we got to talk about with this is that this is the first time I've seen this movie in its proper aspect ratio. This movie was shot in 2.351. 2 by 35 to 1. So basically, you know, you're going to have the bars on the top and bottom. And, you know, even though the bars are on the top and bottom, you're seeing more picture this way than you are that way. That's the original aspect ratio. Whereas this was pan and scan. This was 4 by 3. And it was wild to see this movie finally in, you know, the proper widescreen after all these years. Because I, you know, rewatched this a few times over the years. And I always thought, man, it would be nice to see this in high definition. And the nice thing is that this is a really good transfer from Shout Factory. This Blu-ray here looks really great. I mean, this movie is crystal clear throughout. I mean, dialogue and everything, the audio, it's, again, it's just a DTS Master Audio Stereo. So it's just the stereo mix, which I'm pretty sure is the same as this one. It's probably a little bit better. That's a Dolby 1 for this one, but the DTS Master Audio sounds great. Never had a problem with the audio at all in this film. The sound effects are very loud. The bass really has a kick in this, and I liked it. I thought it was really good. I didn't really have to adjust the volume at all. It was perfect just the way it was. But really, the picture quality on this is outstanding. I really like the picture quality on this. Dolph Lundgren, again, wears this like really dark, like almost like crimson red shirt throughout the movie, and that really jumps out at the screen. I mean, the one big thing about this, though, of course, is the explosions. And there are a few pretty big explosions in this movie, and they just really light up the screen in this. Of course, this isn't a 4K Blu-ray, so it's just 1080, but I did watch it upscaled to 4K. And I have to say, it looked outstanding. I really like the look of this movie. That warehouse shootout is really one to behold. It is really intense. It's very, very graphically violent. The squib blood hits in that scene are just insane. I mean, people are getting craters blown into them. It is just, it's nasty. You really don't see shootouts like that done anymore at all, period. So it is kind of a time capsule of its own, but I really like it. I really, really enjoy this movie. Even though you can tell the budget, you know, probably isn't extremely high. The acting isn't really that great. I mean, Dolph Lundgren is no Shakespearean-trained actor, but again, in the role, he does pretty good. I enjoy him in this movie. I think he's actually a very believable action hero, even though he's just a truck driver. He somehow knows, like, he's somehow an expert marksman and a stunt driver. I mean, it's really ridiculous, but I enjoy it. I really like it, and again, it's one of these guilty pleasures of mine, and I'm really glad to have it on Blu-ray now, thanks to Shout Factory. It's a really great one. This set actually comes with the movie on DVD as well, which is pretty cool, but the one thing to keep in mind is, like I said, is that this cut here is going to be different from the version on this, so keep that in mind. This is extremely hard to find, but again, at least you know what you're getting when you buy this. But I enjoy it. I really like this version. This one's got, you know, a couple different things here and there, but overall I think this is the best version of the movie to own. It looks fantastic, it sounds amazing, and the special features are pretty cool too, because at least they were nice enough to include that alternate ending, which you can watch with or without the director commentary, which I think is nice. So anyway, that's all for today for Kavanaugh's Corner. If you get a chance to pick up Joshua Tree, if you're fond of this movie, aka Army of One, but if you're fond of this, it's definitely worth a pickup. I really like this version from Shout Factory. And until next time, I wish you all the best. Please, guys, stay safe out there during these crazy times, and take it easy.